so glad that you could join us. We're going to chat a little bit about the Watts case because it seems to have not only the country's attention, we are getting commenters in here from all over the world that are just riveted to this case. And a lot of people are asking why. Why are people so riveted to this case even after he's taken a plea deal, Chris has taken a plea deal, he's in prison? Why are people still so riveted by this case and still, really trying to get even more information to help them, understand what happened? Yes, I think that's a big part of it. We need to explain a reason for someone to annihilate his family. When we don't have a reason, when we don't have a clear-cut reason for something like that, it's scarier because, like I said, I told you in another video, I look at all kinds of people very differently now and think like, okay, well, this is what it appears, but, what's to say that that person's not going to turn on a dime and do something as horrific? So that's one reason people are interested in the case, because they really want to pinpoint why. What caused this, okay? What caused this? And we see this in all kinds of, tragedies. We see it in school shootings, what kind of upbringing did this child have? Because if you could find out that that was the reason, then as a parent, you're going to say, oh, I'm not worried because, I give my child attention and I take them out and I let them experience culture. They have a good childhood, whatever. You want to find a way to explain what happened, okay? So that's one of the reasons. The other reason I think everyone is so riveted is because they don't think justice has been completely served in this case. They feel that there are at least one, two, maybe more people that could have had a hand in this, could be an accomplice or more, but that there at least needs to be some questioning, certain people should be brought in for questioning, and that this investigation is not over. So you put those two things together, and this case is still keeping people on the edge of their seats, still searching out there for any information, and just, wanting to understand or trying to continue to seek justice for Shanann, for Bella, for Celeste, and for Nico. So that's what is keeping, I think, the majority of people riveted to this case. Now, we had a good chat last night. We talked about some things from the interrogation with the mistress that one time. Someone told me to go back and go look at the first interview in a park, and I did. There's no audio and there's no video. There's only, it's not even a transcript. It's like paraphrased. So I hate that. I hate that because when you hear the mistress speak, you hear things. She says things that you're not going to get from a paraphrased interview. But just in that paraphrased interview, there were discrepancies from that time to the one that we reviewed last night. Her story changes continually. And in that one, she said that, I don't know if you guys heard this one, that when she found out Shanann was pregnant, Chris said it was by another man. It wasn't his baby. It wasn't his baby. And she said, no, I know it's your baby. I know it's your baby. And it's okay if it's your baby. Totally different than the other night. And then he admit, yeah, it's my baby. So there's also the officer keeps saying to her, I don't know if it was that interview, yeah, I think it was, why did you say that children bothered you? I think when she was talking to her friend Charlotte, and she said, oh, it's not that they bothered me, but they're not my kids. Like she wanted to start, she made no bones about it, that she wanted to start fresh. And that's what she was saying. She was saying, well, I didn't know if he was the one. I didn't know if I wanted to start fresh because he had already done all this and I want somebody to start fresh with. So, we've got all that going on. And like I said, I will be analyzing and giving you my thoughts on the other interviews, interrogations, because there is plenty of phone conversations and interrogations with her. But I think the main point is that a lot of us see where things don't add up and we feel that things should have at least been looked into a little more. So, if you look at the text between her and Chris, there's very few texts for even a 6-week relationship. Okay, very few. Definitely they are missing. So, that seems to be an obstruction of justice. I don't know. Now, the one thing I'm thinking, I wonder if any of that is being held back from the public because the investigation is continuing. And maybe they don't want anyone to know which other texts they have. So it could be a good thing that things are missing. It could be. So we'll see. Now, the part about her friend, I find that extremely troubling that I can't find anywhere where he's been brought in for at least to be questioned. It doesn't make sense. She makes a call to him, a 1-minute call, which sounds like it's a voicemail. It's apparently to his number, okay? And then he comes into town. She says he arrives at her apartment at 3:45 and he's gone by like 9:45. So for 6 hours, we don't know where exactly he was from the morning, from when that call went through, or until, 3:40, until 3:45 when she arrived home. We know that she was adamant she did not want him questioned. So, I don't know, guys. I mean, I really think there's something that's something that had to be looked into. Now, this wrongful death case, I am not sure, because I haven't even researched it yet, if the Rusaks can bring up any of this, or, have anyone questioned as an accomplice to the murder of their daughter and granddaughters and grandson. So I thought it would be interesting to find out in that respect. Now, going back to the family of Chris, because someone had asked me, could I do, kind of analyze Chris and find out, what could possibly cause him to do something like this. So right away with something like that, you're going to look into the family life, okay? And one thing I find troubling now, and I shouldn't say I find it troubling, okay, let me go back. Let me back for a second. When you're a parent and your child does something bad, okay, like graffitis a wall, or let's just say, gets in trouble at school, or naturally at first you're like, oh, not my kid, right? And then you listen, and if it's your kid, okay, then you're going to take care of it and you're going to correct it, and then, talk to your kid about it, and whatever you do, you take away the video game, whatever. You enforce some kind of circumstance for what they did and hope that they learn from it, right? Okay. So on a small scale, we want to think our kids are angels all the time, but we know that's not true. And our kids are going to make mistakes, and we just hope they're not huge mistakes. And we hope to be able to guide them and show them the consequences for their actions, and then help them to grow up and be great people that we're very proud of. Okay, I am sure that's the dream of every parent. I don't think any parent sits here and says, I want to be the parent of, someone that murders someone. No, or commits a crime, or holds up a liquor store. No parent in their right mind would ever wish for something like that. So I think when something like this happens that we feel is just unthinkable, can you imagine being the parent of someone that is accused of this and then someone that admits the guilt, admits to doing this, okay? So in that respect, I can see a little bit of the denial that's going on in his parents. They are in denial. They are in denial because it is just such a horrific thing to think that their son killed his own children. Killed his own children. Okay, I don't think they're so concerned, sad to say, that he killed Shanann. I think they can even see or explain away why that would happen. And I'll explain that in a minute. But the children are something that, you know, is really just incomprehensible to them. I think they mentally need to deny, or at least shed doubt, that their son did this. So I watched a video again with his mother, and she says, you know, I'm so worried about this plea deal. I was so worried about it from the beginning, when they wouldn't let us speak with him, and we wanted to speak with him before he did this, and we wanted to tell him to fight, and we couldn't even write a letter, is what she said. And she thinks that he took this plea deal and he didn't know what he was doing. But you know what? You can read the plea deal. You can read it. There's a page, and I can link it, where you can read all the documents. I'm not talking about the discovery documents. I'm talking about the court documents, okay? All of the, you know, motions and everything. You can read his plea deal that he signed. Now, it does not in there state that his mistress has immunity at all. And he really didn't get anything from the plea deal except that the prosecutor would not seek the death penalty. Now, the mother, oh no, I just spilled a little of my coffee. Chris's mother and even legal experts have said that in the state of Colorado, the governor is does not support the death penalty. And so the chances that, you know, he would be put to death in Colorado are slim to none. His mother has stated she was not afraid at all. She felt that if he was on death row, he would be safer than he is now. And she feels in no way that he should have taken a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. So that leads one to believe, because if that was such a non-issue, why did he accept the plea deal and not go to trial? Because according to his parents, according to his father, and his father, I will tell you, is so hard to hear. I had to read the transcripts of it because he talks like he has a mouthful of marbles. It is impossible to hear him. You can hear a word here and there, but you really can't hear much. When they say that they believed the story that Chris told that first time he confessed to killing Shanann, that Shanann had killed the children and he killed her in a fit of rage. And the mother says, what else would have made him snap? There's nothing else. It doesn't, the other way, it doesn't explain. He needed something to make him snap. So that's the only explanation. And so she said, and I would want him to fight. I want him to fight. I want to help my son. I want him to fight. If he didn't do this, I want him to fight. And so she and her husband were going on, you know, news stations giving these interviews and saying that they were confused. So they're saying they don't buy completely that he did this. They are still believing what he told his father that first night. And Ronnie, the father, goes on to say, you know, some unkind things about Shanann, her mental, that she's bipolar. I believe he mentioned narcissist, personality disorder. He was going on and on. He said that she sat her lazy ass, I think he said her lazy ass on Facebook while Chris watched the kids. But he did admit she was a good salesperson and that she did help to bring in income. He claims not to have known about any financial difficulties. And so what we find further is that they were not fans of Shanann from the get-go, okay? And we know about the nut incident, and that's getting to be like a game of telephone. That, do you remember the game of telephone? You tell somebody something, and by the time it gets to the 10th person down the line, it's a completely different thing. So I've heard all kinds of things from, different sources, but I'm going to believe what I hear from the ones that were the Shanann. It's said in text. So it was about ice cream, and Shanann had told them what Cece can and cannot have. She has a nut allergy. It's very severe. She carries an EpiPen. You don't just carry an EpiPen if you don't have a severe allergy. And it seems that Chris's mother totally disregarded it. And when the child was crying, like a 3-year-old child's going to understand right then and there, when everybody has ice cream, why she can't have any. Okay? That, well, it's good for her to learn she can't always get what she wants, was the response. And then there were all kinds of things said, but from Shanann's texts to Chris about this incident, she was upset that her child's life was in danger, put in danger. It could have been very bad. Chris seemed to believe the same thing, okay? He wasn't happy about that. It wasn't an issue over anything else except what the mother did here and what her actions were. So, and then I believe the sister then went and put a bowl of nuts on the table after all of this, okay? So it's just, it was really upsetting, and she wanted Chris to go and speak with his parents about it, and that was where some discord came in. But she didn't say he couldn't see his parents when he was there. She just said she wasn't going to go, and she wanted an apology from his mother. And, I'm not sure if she wanted the father too, but she wanted an apology. But she was willing. She said, she didn't just say, I'm never going to speak to them again. They're out of my life. They're never going to see my kids. No, not at all. She said she was willing to resolve this. And when she was texting her friends and telling them about the incident, she was saying she was willing to resolve this with her mother-in-law, and she would, call her and this and that, but she did want an apology, and she wanted to resolve this. So, that's that. And people have issues. People, and this is something that was her child's health, okay? What we see from this incident, when the investigator Saylor calls a friend of Chris Watts, who was a childhood friend, I think since the time they were 8 years old. And he's out in San Diego now, or near San Diego. He's out in the desert town near San Diego. And he does some type of medical, he works in the medical field, I don't know in what capacity, with the Marines. He said where the Marines go, they go. So he did see Chris and Shanann, this friend, when they went on their trip to San Diego at the end of June. And he said when he saw them, Chris seemed fine and Shanann seemed fine. But here's the really puzzling thing, okay? This is a childhood friend. Now, I have older boys, I have an older girl, they have childhood friends, okay? Now, it happens that my one son, some of his friends even lived with us when their families moved to Florida and they didn't want to go. So, I know what it is to take on one of your son's friends, take them under your wing. I've had their friends spend holidays with us. Our house has always been kind of like that. So I understand that. But I also understand that if my son was married and had 2 children and there was some type of something like the nut incident, okay? That I'm not going to say, you know what? Let me pick up that phone and call Keith. I'm going to call Keith and I'm going to tell him what happened here. You know, it's just, I don't understand. But this is apparently what Chris's mother did. After this incident, she picked up the phone and she called this friend Mark. And she said, can you believe this? You know, I can't believe this, that she did this. And she told Mark that, I think at this time she said that Chris was going to get a divorce from her, he's going to separate from her, that he had finally, oh no, first she had said to Mark that she was so afraid, yes, so afraid she was going to lose Chris over this, okay? Now, he said that she told him she had thrown Shanann out of the house. She threw her right out of the house with this, threw her and the kids, pregnant woman, right out of the house. Get out of here, okay? And that she was so afraid she was not going to see her son anymore because of this, because apparently in the other disagreements, Chris had taken his family's side. And so as she recanted this to her son's childhood friend, which I just find crazy, it's the word I can use for it, you know, he then either calls or texts Chris, okay? So it's not even crazy enough that she calls his childhood friend, okay, who lives on the other coast, to tell him something that happened with her daughter-in-law and her grandchildren. Didn't say she called her son right away about this. She called his childhood friend. So he calls or texts Chris and says, listen, man, this has got to end. Your mom just called me. This has got to stop. Now, he is on the mother's side. Wait till you hear why. Because from the get-go, he said that Chris's family has always talked badly about Shanann, no matter what. They have said she was shady, and she was shady from the get-go. And they said that when she was dating Chris, they claim she was sleeping with her old boss. We have no proof of that. And this is when they were dating, okay? Shanann is not here to defend herself. And it's just crazy that they're bringing this up, you know, now, okay? So anyway, he says, and that was like the shadiest thing that they had, that she slept with her old boss while she was dating Chris, which is probably a lie, okay? Since, you know, there's so many lies all around, but yes, this is what they said. And they can't even get the story with the nuts straight, because the father then, you know, will say that it's Shanann that stormed out. She tells the guy she threw Shanann out. That's what I mean by the game of telephone. It's gotten so misconstrued. So it's just, if that's getting misconstrued. Anyway, they kept saying, but why don't they like Shanann? Why didn't they like Shanann? You know, did you? And then he said, I don't know. And then he said, well, why don't you, you know, what were your feelings on her? He said, every time, listen to this one. Now, I think an intelligent person, you can't just believe what you hear. You have to see for yourself, right? Especially about a person, because people can have all different kinds of motives for saying something about a person. But you should use your own judgment when you're meeting someone and trying to determine what kind of person they are. Not based on what somebody else has told you, okay? But make up for, you know, your mind for yourself. So this guy says, I really liked Shanann. I really liked her. She was nice every time. And then he said, you never witnessed any type of behavior between her or Chris that you would call questionable. You never witnessed anything that would cause you to dislike this woman or say that she wasn't good for Chris or anything of that kind, you know? No, never, never. He liked her. But, he said, well, listen to this one, because Chris's family has done nothing but tell him bad things. Tell him that Shanann was shady. Tell him that, she wasn't a good person. He just felt, maybe I'm not seeing what they're seeing. Maybe I'm not close enough to the situation. So he was always looking, and he said, like, he was brainwashed in another sense, that he couldn't like her, okay? Even though he could say he liked her, and when he met her, she was fine, and she was friendly, and she was cordial, and he didn't notice any behavior towards Chris or anyone else that would say she's not a good person. But apparently he couldn't make up his own mind, okay? So he couldn't take it that maybe Chris's family is bananas, and they're saying this stuff for another reason. So this is what was going on. Apparently, I guess they were telling Chris this stuff too, but he wasn't listening. And then this friend said that he touched base with Chris. I don't know whether it was by text or whatnot, but when Chris was coming back from North Carolina, he apparently told this friend that Shanann and I are getting separated. I have finally seen that side of her, meaning the side that his parents had been telling him about. He didn't tell this friend how he saw this side, or what side was it, or what it was, okay? That is the extent of it. And his parents were then telling people that Chris is going to leave her, as he was leaving North Carolina. So this is what was going on. Then we know that Chris deleted his Facebook account. His father said, "You deleted your Facebook account?" "Yes, I finally liberated myself." So Chris was already checking out of that life, okay? His parents, okay, like I said, none of my older kids are married yet, but I can't imagine not going to the wedding because I don't like the person they're marrying. I would do everything I could to form a relationship with that person, because what are you going to gain from that? Okay, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be a horrible life. It's going to be a horrible life for this child that you say that you love, right? If she really loved her son, why is she making his life so difficult? Because she can't accept his wife for whatever reason, okay? Be the parent, try to find something in common. And Shanann had a lot of great qualities, and we all see them. It's not like she's some skank, working the corner and she's bringing her kids, or she's, holding up liquor stores, or, she owned her first house at 25. She was a real go-getter. Even the father said she was an incredible salesperson. She carried herself. She didn't put her kids' lives in danger. She was a very good mother. So what is the big thing? Now, apparently they made up enough that the family could go out twice a year. But you would think, okay, so, you would think, right? They know their daughter-in-law is coming for an extended stay, and they're only an hour away. They went to the beach, right? They went to the beach when they wanted to avoid their son. So why didn't they think of like, oh, wow, the girls are coming? They were not excited about their grandchildren coming. I mean, that would be a great thing, and the children had never been to the beach. Frank Rusak said that summer was the first time they were there, so they seemed to like to go to the beach. Why not invest your energy in planning a trip with your grandchildren to the beach? Why get so wrapped up in your feelings that don't seem to be legitimate? And if your daughter-in-law said to you, "My child can't have this food," that's your grandchild. It's not some, random stranger. Shouldn't you, as the grandmother, say, "Oh my gosh, I don't want anything to happen to my granddaughter. She can't have nuts. We're going to have to be careful when she's here." More precautions are taken when my son started kindergarten. they had a child with peanut allergies. And as a whole class, we were brought in there at the Meet the Teacher night, and the mother told us of things we could and could not do, and her son had to have his own crayons, and the kids had to follow all of these procedures that they wouldn't in another class, but they had to for the safety of the child. And that was a whole school year long thing. So could she not make some small changes in her household to accommodate her granddaughter? You know, she acted in a way like her granddaughter didn't have this allergy, and it was like Shanann had Munchausen's by proxy or something. She just, I don't know, acted just very, very strange about that. And there is something else that when she was in an interview, she said, oh, Bella's so wonderful. She, you know, reminds her so much of Chris, and she looks so much like Chris. And, you know, Cece looks like Shanann. And I think this woman, because I don't think the parents are very mature people, and I'll tell you why. They blocked their daughter-in-law on Facebook. Now, when I hear this, you know, it's different. You block a person if a person's harassing you, if a person's giving you death threats or stuff like that. But you have your daughter-in-law who posts videos of your grandchildren. She's your grandchildren's mother. She's pregnant for your grandson. You're going to go block her on Facebook. It honestly reminds me of something like my daughter would say in middle school, like, oh, I had to defriend so-and-so. You know, it's such a childish thing, okay? So they blocked her on Facebook. Really mature. Really mature. So they didn't go to their son's wedding. Another really, really mature move, okay? You'll miss your son's wedding. You'll miss that, which you'll probably end up regretting, okay? Because you see, now she's saying about how she can't see her son, you know, how she couldn't see about the plea deal, and she's not ever going to have the interaction she could have had with her son anymore. And she missed all these moments because of what? Her pride, selfishness, whatever it was, she missed all of that. Okay? She couldn't be an example. She couldn't put this behind her. She couldn't try if she wanted to say, you know, Shanann was all this. Well, then what about being the bigger person? What about showing your son, look, I'm going to put these differences aside because I want to be part of your life, and I don't want to make your life any more stressful. Okay? You love this woman. You've chose to spend the rest of your life with this woman. Then I'm going to try to accept this woman. Even if whatever she felt, real or imagined, be the bigger person. Okay? So, you know, nobody's saying that you're going to have everything in common with a daughter-in-law or son-in-law, but if you love your child and this person makes them happy, you should do your best to try to get along with them, right? Unless they're, like I said, it wasn't that she was doing anything that was endangering the children. She wasn't, you know, like I said, she wasn't doing anything that was harming her son or anything like that, okay? And please don't say, oh, well, she might have, you know, told him that to get out of a picture or something. That's not harming her son, okay? And that's something that spouses say things, okay? It doesn't mean that someone's irreparably harmed from something like that, okay? Anyhow, so yes. So they showed between that and Facebook, you know, they were immature. And then she's in an interview and she's sitting there, you know, after the fact and really coming down about Shanann and how, in a way, you know, like she ruined her son's life and she's the reason this happened, and, you know, she's going to keep thinking that Shanann killed those kids because there's no way her son would have flipped out. You know, what would have caused him to snap? Everybody will say he was such a great kid. First she says he was like her husband, and then she says he was very much like her. and you won't find anybody to say that he was harming animals as a little kid and all of that. Well, you don't have to harm animals as a little kid. You know, that's one way, you know, we may judge someone that has some type of mental disorder and may grow up to do some really horrific things. Or it doesn't have to be something like that, okay? As we see in this case. Now, with most family annihilators, they end up killing themselves, or at least, you know, injuring themselves, and they sometimes make it out to be like it was a home invasion or this, you know, something gone wrong, okay? We saw that, you know what other case? And when I think about all the cases, they don't come to mind at first, and then now they do. This is, like I said, I've always been interested in true crime. Do you remember the case, another pregnant woman, where it was up in Boston? They came back from a Lamaze class. I'm trying to remember the name. I believe she was an attorney, and they got out of their Lamaze class, and he made it look like a carjacking. And he shot his wife, and he called the police, and they came, and they couldn't save the wife. They delivered the baby. The baby, I believe his name was Christopher. He lived for, I don't know, maybe 13 days or 23 days, something like that, but he passed on. And the father injured himself enough that he was in the hospital, okay? You know, he injured himself enough, but it came out that, yes, now I'm trying to say, I think he pulled the trigger, or he hired someone. It might have even been his brother. I have to go back to this case. Who pulled the trigger and, you know, made it seem like this mock carjacking gone bad. And again, it was all because I believe he had a life insurance policy, and he really wasn't ready for a baby. You know, just these guys that just want a new start and, you know, think in their minds. And it's like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like, somebody may say, well, someone got away with it. Maybe, you know, okay, but let's look at the cases that we know. They're not getting away with it. So when you're sitting there thinking that's one of your options, yeah, maybe just get a divorce. Maybe just get a divorce, okay? And take things. I think, you know, Scott Peterson and Chris Watts and this other guy are going to tell you, you know, get a divorce. It doesn't work. This didn't work out so well. But for whatever reason, they think they're smarter and they're going to get away with it and they're going to have everything. And so when we see these family annihilators, the ones that are taking the lives of their children, like I said, it's unfathomable to most of us. So yes, we're riveted. We want to know what would cause someone to do this. So his mom, you know, keeps looking at pictures on the wall, and she's determined to, it seems like she wants him to rescind his plea and go to trial. And now, well, you know, a lot of people were disappointed it didn't go to trial, because we would have had the chance to see several witnesses that we want to see on that stand. And it would be great if somebody for the prosecution was like Juan Martinez and his cross-examination of Jodi Arias. I'm sure we would love to see that happen to the Mistress, right? So, I don't know. I mean, she seems to think her son would have nothing to lose. They're not going to put him to death anyway. He shouldn't have accepted the plea. He should have fought. And, you know, if he's innocent, which the parents believe, you know, at least they're on the fence about it. They're not 100% that he did commit the murders of the children. They still believe somewhat that his story that night, okay? They said they still believe it because they believed him that night. His father did. So I don't know what is going to come up with that. But this friend, I'm just like, okay, how about you go off what you know when you met her? And then they said to him, well, did Chris tell you anything? Did he tell you what light he saw? You know, did he ever confide to you about things that, about her? Nothing, nothing, nothing. And he even said, when he was in San Diego, he looked fine. He was the Chris that he knew. And he said, I just want, you know, people to know he's a good person. I support him. He's like a brother to me. You know, I don't see anything like this in him. I don't know about this. So, yeah, I mean, there was another interesting thing that I saw was for a communications class in 2012, Chris made this relationship PowerPoint presentation. Now, if you haven't seen that, you should tune into it. First of all, just to see how Chris has changed. He used to be much heavier. You can see it in some of the early pictures with the kids, but you could see here a much bigger, stockier guy. And he's 25 at the time. Now he either, because they got married in 2012, right? So I don't know whether, I think he's probably married, but you know, he's going to talk about these relationships. And if you listen to what he says, it's so ironic because he talks about meeting someone at work and, you know, how you have infidelities. You should really give it a listen to if you haven't. And just, you know, his advice for rekindling, one of them is bungee jumping or going back to the place where you first met. Take a listen to that if you haven't. And he also has his own YouTube channel where he has that video posted, and he has a first wedding dance. I think the wedding's from 2010, so before he and Shanann were married, of this couple's first dance, and he's got one other video that's liked. So that was interesting, to say the least. And let me see what else we're going to say. So the mother, let's get back. And then see, there's so many things. I don't know how I could do a live because my head is like so jumbled with all of this stuff, and there's so much I want to tell you guys, and yet I don't want to make these videos too long, and I don't want to go on and on and on, but there's so much to discuss in this case. And when you do a live, you've got to be like reading the comments and talking, and I can't do that because I'm going to get off task. I get off task naturally by myself. But anyway, what I think the premieres are really good, and I think that's what works for me. You let me know what you think, because that way people that want to watch the video without being distracted with me calling names out, you know, because I mean, I just find when I'm watching something and someone's talking about a case or whatever, even when it's like a reality show you're talking about, and they're like, you know, hey, did you see that part? And then, you know what I thought was really great was, did you see when she grabbed that knife? Hi, thanks for the super chat. Hi, thanks for the super chat, Joni. Right? It's really distracting because they're going back and forth, and you're like, just get to the point, just get to the point. And I'm sure many of you are saying that to me now. So yeah, let me know. Let me know if, you know, if some of you are saying, oh no, I really wish you'd have a live. I don't like these premieres with the live chat. It's not the same. But then I know a lot of you were already saying it is good because you can replay the live chat, and then we can still chat after in the comments. And I do try to get there and respond to you, to all of you who leave me comments or ask me questions. And I think the discussion has been great, and it's been nice to find others that are, you know, interested in true crime and have ideas about this case and other cases. So, you know, just saying thanks. Thanks for the support. We hit 2,000 subscribers today, and that was great. I really thank you guys so much for the support. It's been wonderful, wonderful. So let's go back to the parents. So I don't think they're mature, right? They don't go to his wedding. They block him on Facebook. And then her father says, oh, she sent us an ultrasound. Now, the ultrasound that she sent them, because he said when they got back. Now, when they went back to North Carolina, that's when they had the gender ultrasound. And so that, I'm sure, is the ultrasound she sent them, that they were having a grandson, something that most grandparents would be really happy that their daughter-in-law did. Okay, look, you know, she sent us this picture. Oh, isn't the baby cute? Whatever, it was the 3D ultrasound. And I think she put his name, okay, what it was going to be. And the father's middle name is Lee, and Chris's middle name is Lee. So, you know, most grandparents would have been pleased. And they would have been pleased that their daughter-in-law was not holding this big grudge, and she was willing to work things out for them. But you know what the father says? He says, she sent us the ultrasound because she wants to get back in our good graces. And he said it with a disgust. Again, how old are you? How old are you? And this is after the fact, when she's gone and your grandchildren are gone? Okay, just crazy. So anyway, if they knew their daughter-in-law was coming out with their granddaughters and she was pregnant and she was staying for 5 weeks, they should have been thrilled, right? They only get there twice a year is what he said. So why were they not thrilled? Why were they not spending their time, you know, making plans? You've got amusement park, what do you got? Carowinds down there, whatever, Busch Gardens. Why did they not make plans to go to the beach even with their son and Shanann when they came? Why did they spend their time not listening to what Shanann said and just doing something that they knew was going to be a problem? And then when, okay, let's just say, give her the benefit of the doubt. She totally spaced giving the kids the pistachio ice cream. She totally spaced on buying something Cece could have. She sees that chaos is ensuing, right? What would you do? Would you try to diffuse the situation, or would you say to your daughter-in-law, well, you know what? It's a good lesson for her to learn what she can. She can't have what she wants. Who does she think she is? 3-year-old. And she just turned 3, right? I don't even know if she was 3 at the time. What does she think she is? She better start learning. She can't get what she wants. It's a good day for a lesson. You know, but maybe when the mother-in-law saw that, the way it was going. And the guy Mark says a totally different story. He says that Cece ate an entire bowl of Hershey Kisses and, you know, and then something else. So unless the story got construed, but whatever it was, when the father saw that this was happening, why not say, you know what, I messed up. Come on, Cece, let's go. You want to come, Shanann? We'll go to the nearest soft-serve place or wherever, and, you know, Grammy will buy you an ice cream cone. You can have, what can you have? Vanilla, you can have chocolate. Whatever she could eat. Or, you know, if it was a certain ice cream she had to buy her at the store, come on, you come with Grammy, and Grammy will even stop by wherever and buy you a little something special, okay? Why not just diffuse the situation instead of adding this fire and fire? Even if Shanann got very upset over it, she had every reason to, because her child could have had a very, very serious health consequence. Beyond that, the woman's pregnant. Her hormones are going crazy. Why not just diffuse the situation? Your son is going to come to town. These are your granddaughters. Little Cece's going to have a birthday party. Well, they didn't go to little Cece's birthday party. And when their son came, they took off for the beach. So, you know, when they think back that those were the last days to spend with their son as a free man, with their precious granddaughters, and instead, you know, maybe had they spent that time, who knows if anything might have changed? Who knows if something might have been different, right? But they'll never know that because they chose to be immature about it. okay? And they chose to then get on the phone and call Chris's best friend and complain, and then the best friend decided to call Chris and say, this has got to end. This has got to stop. And he didn't mean this has got to stop with your mother interfering in your marriage. He meant this has got to stop with Shanann causing your mother trouble, even though he never witnessed trouble, okay? Even though this is all hearsay. So, yeah, that's my problem there beyond anything, okay? Because you're the parent, these are your grandkids, they're there to see you, you see them twice a year, they're here for an extended time, they're only an hour away, that's all they are. You don't attend Cece's last birthday party on this earth because of your own pride. You can't put it aside. You can't mend fences for your own granddaughter. What kind of example is that for her? Okay, so when we even try to understand, like you said, the dynamics of Chris, we have to look at this family, okay? So this is what this family, this is the example this family is setting out there. And this didn't just happen. These people have had to been like that their whole life. Nobody was ever going to be good enough, okay? Nobody. Their son, you know, she was worried she was going to lose her son. You know, he's living out in Colorado. And did you catch in an interrogation he told his mother not to come? It doesn't sound like he had a close relationship with her because she was probably always causing him grief in his life. Okay? So, it's preposterous to me. But, yeah. So the first part of looking at what makes this guy tick is looking at the family that he was raised in. Okay? So it's not a family that is accepting. It's not a family that wants to resolve differences. And they were so glad. Now, most people would not be shouting it from the rooftops when their son's wife is 15 weeks pregnant and he is going to separate and divorce her. You know, they were like with glee, like it's like, we won. What did you win? What did you win? You're not supposed to be in competition with her. You know, okay, I'm not even going to get into it. But yeah, you know, they won. They won. He's going to leave her. He finally saw it. Thought he was going to take her side like always, but he took our side. He took our side. That's our boy. Doesn't fall far from the tree. He took our side. That'll show her. That'll really show her. He took our side. And then, you know what? She tried to send us a sonogram picture. Imagine the nerve. We blocked her on Facebook and she sent us a sonogram picture. Try to get back in our good graces. Yep. Yep. But the blocking on Facebook has a different significance to me. Yeah, they knew that he was going to leave her. They knew he had said this. So they just wanted to cut ties with her because those are the kind of people. Not realizing that even if he had an amicable divorce, even if he had a non-amicable divorce, that this is somebody they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their lives. And instead of, again, making it easier on their grandchildren or anything, this is the kind of people. Block you on Facebook, and how dare you send me a picture of my grandson in utero. The nerve. The nerve. So, yeah. I think that was very telling. And then shortly after that, Chris deletes his Facebook, okay? And the father says to him, you know, he wanted to FaceTime that night, that very night, that Sunday night that the children were murdered, okay? Could we FaceTime with the girls? And then he said, well, I think Bella might tell Shanann. Yeah, that's what we figured, and we don't want to cause you any more trouble. You don't want to cause him any more trouble? Oh my gosh, if you didn't want to cause him any more trouble, you would have been doing things a lot different. So yeah, you wouldn't have blocked her on Facebook, and you wouldn't have, you know, responded to her sonogram picture that, oh, what the nerve of her, she's trying to get back in our good graces. You know, it's crazy. It's just crazy what happened there. So I'm sorry. That is just something. And he says, yeah, I liberated myself. So when you look for premeditation, at least he was divesting of his life in that regard. He was getting rid of the old Chris. And he did get a new life, but not the life he wanted. Not at all. He did get a new life. He did get a new life. I'm sure it's far, far, far from the new life that he thought of. And when Cindy talks about the plea deal and then finally being able to see Chris, and I believe it was after he signed the plea deal, she said, you know, we had to talk to him through a wall with a phone. Do you think he's at the country club, Cindy? He's in prison. He's in prison, Cindy. Yeah, your time for have, you know, these lovely chats and dinners, you spent with your own pride running away from your son. You didn't go to his wedding. You didn't go to your granddaughter's birthday party. And now, yeah, you're going to see your son in prison, where your visits are going to be highly regulated, okay? And if you get to the point where they let you go into the same room, they're going to watch you. Don't touch, you know. So, yeah. See if it was worth it for you to do the things you did. But anyway, she goes, we told him about the memorial that they had for the girls, and I believe Shanann too, and he wanted to know about the music, and you know what? And he was crying. And then she goes, no, he wasn't crying, but you could see that in his eyes, he was holding back tears. Now, why did she think that it was good that he was holding back tears? Why wouldn't he be crying? Why wouldn't he be crying, especially if she believed he didn't kill his children, if she believed he lost his children at the hands of his wife? Wouldn't he be bawling? His mother's telling him about the memorial that he didn't even get to attend for his children. And then she said something else. Yeah, I would have called 911 had it happened. But I can see it happening. And the father said, yeah, because she said, if you cheat on me, I'm going to get back to you tenfold. Now, how many wives have, like, what wife says, hey, if you cheat on me, it's good. I'm going to give you a free pass. I might give you 2 free passes. It's all good. It's all good. Water under the bridge, no problem. We're good on that. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about being faithful to me. If she said anything like that, first of all, it could have been said in jest. Just like someone said, you cheat on me, I'm going to kill you. Right? But maybe she had a reason to suspect, and we know she had a reason to suspect. So we don't know in what context it was said. We don't know, you know, if it was even said. We're hearing it through someone that said Chris told them, but we're not hearing it from Chris. We're hearing it from his father, and he could be serving his own agenda, right? He has his own agenda to believe this or to put that out there. But whatever it is, it doesn't mean she would kill her children. I've heard, you know, even you think back to movies, you know, if you even think of cheating me, I'll financially ruin you, I will ruin you. I can think of all the scripts. It doesn't mean that they're going to kill their children. Shanann loved those kids. She wasn't going to kill her children if he cheated on her. No. I mean, women have spouses that cheat. Men have spouses that cheat. It happens all too often. If the natural reaction was killing your children to get back at your spouse, we'd see it all the more. The reason that cases like this, and like I said, this is not, to my knowledge, at all, you know, no way do I believe that she killed those children. No way do I believe that she killed those children to get back at him for an affair. 100% no. I don't personally know anyone that has done anything like that. But if someone did it and there's a case or two out there, they're a rare exception to how many times people find out. I have a friend right now. She has 4 girls. She found out her husband had a whole double life. Not one thought in her head to annihilate her family to get back at him. Not one. Okay? So, yeah. No, I do not believe it. 100%. So Ronnie puts this out here. Well, she said that if he ever cheated on her, she'll get back to him tenfold. She'll get even with him tenfold. And again, he says like these disparaging things about Shanann and all of this stuff. And it's just, oh my gosh, really, Ronnie? Really? But yeah, you know, let's go and do that. So yeah, the whole thing is, like, to me, they should have been happy their daughter-in-law was out there. They should have been, you know, happy that she was there. I've seen Shanann make a video where she's sending stuff to her mother-in-law to help her mother-in-law's health. And you might say, oh, well, that's part of her being self. Whatever it is, she wasn't eye-rolling or, you know, doing anything on that video. Now you'll say, oh, she wouldn't do that on the video. But there's the text messages to her friends, okay? And she was willing to repair this. And she was not bringing up none of the things. This was about what happened to her daughter, and Chris was upset about that too. She never said he couldn't see his family. She never said it's your family or it's me. She never did a lot of things that I've heard a lot of other people do when they had problems with in-laws, okay? So I didn't see anything like that. And she even said, I'm willing to call her and, you know, try to work this out. So, yeah. She was acting a lot more mature than any of them. And, you know, if she wants to get an attorney and have her son go to trial, I think a lot of people would be interested in who gets on that witness stand. Going back to why he would have accepted the plea deal, if essentially the death penalty was off the table anyway, no matter what, maybe he didn't want somebody on that witness stand. Maybe he's trying to protect someone. Maybe he doesn't want anyone to get questioned by the prosecution, by someone like Juan Martinez. Maybe he doesn't want that. Maybe he's hiding something. Taking the plea deal, he figures, you know, he's going to be this stand-up guy and he's going to protect someone from being put in that position. So back to Cindy. She said if it was her, she would fight. And if she didn't do this, she would fight. And she wants her son to fight. And she wants him to know that she wants him to fight. And she wants to help him. And she says the only thing, you know, I would have done, I would have called 911. Let's go back to that. If this unfolded the way that he says it unfolded, right? That he sees this on the baby monitor, he goes up to the room and he kills Shanann in a fit of rage because he can see his children are dead, right? At that point, guys, at that point, if he was really after this new life, and I'm not saying if that he wouldn't be upset if he didn't do this to his children, right? Let's just put, like, you know, let's just put a regular person in there, okay? This happens. Now, they'll be beside themselves about what happened, right? So, are they going to say, at that point, gee, you know what? I better dispose of all these bodies, and I better keep this a secret. No. See, his actions are everything. if this happened the way he said, and even his own mother said, I would have called 911. And the female investigator, I believe her name was Tammy, had said, you know, there's been parents that have come in and found their child so visibly dead. Rigor mortis is set in. And as the parents still, they call 911. Please revive my child. Please do anything. They're never ready to give up on their child. And she couldn't understand why he wouldn't call if this happened the way it did, right? The way he said. And she said, you know, he kept saying, well, they were blue. She said, it doesn't matter, you know. Most parents would jump in there. They try CPR themselves while they're calling 911 and they're freaking out, and they're not just going to say, you know, it's a done deal, my kid is dead. Okay? So that was one of the big things that everyone is looking at, that this isn't what you said, Chris, the first time. Okay? Second thing is, if he had called 911, as horrific as it was, if he didn't kill his children, he probably, well, why would he hide anything, okay? Because he even, you know, what would it be, involuntary manslaughter, or, you know, but juries would say, oh my gosh, this man witnessed this most horrific thing. His wife was actively, you know, strangling his child. He saw another dead child, and in grabbing her, pushing her off, he strangled her to death, or whatever. And that would be a lot more understandable than what he did. And he wouldn't be, you know, the monster that people see him as today, right? So, okay, and let's say the other scenario, right? That he sees her and he doesn't kill her, okay? He grabs her off of there. He, whatever, puts her up against the wall, says, what, don't you, you know, what are you doing? He sees his children are dead, okay? He either tries to revive them himself, he gets 911 on the phone, he calls the police. Now at that point, she's going to go to jail, and he is going to be free to start his life. So why would this man, okay, think that the thing to do is to cover up this crime, lie to the police the next day, lie to them the next day? You know, it doesn't make sense. And what else doesn't make sense? If he was so horrified, and his children were not killed by his hand. Think about it, those of you that have kids. And it's hard to imagine, we don't want to imagine, but if your child was killed at the hands of your spouse, are you going to go cover up this crime? And worse, are you going to go stuff your child through the narrow hatch opening of a crude oil tank and wait to hear the splash and know that you took your child, your precious child, and threw them down into a tank of crude oil? And then you took, you know, their beloved blankets. You know, parents have a hard time that lose a child. Like, they want their lovey and the blanket that their child had to smell their child's scent. He got rid of all that. It wasn't that, you know, I want this to remember about, nothing. Gone. And he took, you know, there was no emotion when he told police that their blankets and their stuffed animals were gone, that they carried around them all the time, that they would never be without. You know, he had no emotion telling them that. None at all. So how his parents can still believe this, just shows you the power of denial, you know, the level of denial that they're at. So they say, we're confused. You know, if he did this, we don't understand how. How could he do this? Something had to make him snap. And that's why we believe this. Because without something to make him snap, our son couldn't do this. So those are my thoughts for tonight. And I don't know, guys, I keep going through more and more on this case. And so tonight we discussed his mother, because you guys wanted me to take a look at what is going on in his head. And I think we have to look at the family that he was raised in, and just what the dynamic that's going on in there. And like I said with this Patrick Frazee, I think we're going to see a funky, funky, funky dynamic in that family. And the mother, like I said, is fighting, you know, Kelsey's family for the custody of Kaylee. And we're going to see tomorrow, Patrick Frazee makes another appearance in court. I wonder what he's going to look like, because he looked pretty bad the last appearance. And then January 3rd, there's another a temporary custody hearing. So we'll see what happens there. I am so sorry I'm running so long. I'm sorry, guys, I get to talking about this case, and there's just so much. And I know that when I get off, I go, oh my gosh, I didn't mention that or the other thing, and I didn't get to touch on that. But I think it's enough. I think we have to kind of digest it. And, you know, for those of you that come and say, well, why are you doing this? The case is closed. The case is over. Some of us need to do this. Some of us have nagging questions. Some of us need to dive in deeper. And if you don't get that, that's fine. That's fine. There's lots of other channels that have interests for you. But for those of you that do get it, I am more than willing to discuss this with you. And I hope you guys have a great evening. And if I don't speak to you before the new year, a happy new year to everyone. And again, thank you so much for your support. We're so happy that we hit 2,000 subscribers today. We love that, and just really love, you know, I love the interaction that you're giving me. And when I say we, because I talk about this with my older kids, and so my son and, you know, my daughter and my husband, they look at this too, because this is something that I talk about. So I say we, even though you only see me right here. You know, we really appreciate this all. And I do bounce things off of them. And like I said, perhaps very soon my son will sit here with me and give you a different viewpoint from a male point of view, or my daughter when she's home. So, but that's it. Let me know, guys, if there's anything in particular you want me to look at. I'm trying to get to everybody because people have given me different things, and I decided to look a little bit at what, you know, what makes, who made, I'm looking, how should I say it? I'm diving in a little bit to the family behind this man and seeing what kinds of things happened there. And as Cindy said, he was quiet, he was into sports, they stressed school, and that I think he was good, somebody had said, working on cars and things, and that you couldn't get anybody, he wasn't torturing animals. So we know then that not every person that annihilates his family is going to follow that forensic footprint of torturing animals. And, you know, maybe someone that hurt an animal when they were young turns out to be a great person. So never is anyone going to fit into the same mold. There's always going to be exceptions, and I don't know. We'll see what we uncover here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I thank you so much again. Happy New Year. Welcome wherever you're coming from. It's great. I know we have people coming from Australia and England and New Zealand and Ireland and Italy. So welcome everyone, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you. And now I know when this is over, that live chat is going to end, but take take your chat right to the regular comments, and I will interact with you over there, okay? Bye now.